Hash the wrong table. Sarah Martinez had always been invisible. At 23, she had perfected the art of blending into crowds, of speaking just loud enough to be heard in meetings, and of finding the quietest corner in any room. Today, however, the universe seemed determined to test her gift for anonymity. The annual corporate gala at Meridian Industries was everything Sarah had expected it to be: intimidating, elegant, and completely out of her league. As a marketing intern who had only been with the company for 3 months, she felt like a small fish swimming in an ocean of power suits and confident handshakes. The grand ballroom sparkled under crystal chandeliers, their warm light dancing across tables draped in crisp white linens. The soft murmur of conversation mixed with the gentle clink of wine glasses, creating a symphony of corporate success that made Sarah's stomach flutter with nerves. She clutched her small purse tighter and checked her phone for the 3rd time in 5 minutes. The company had sent everyone their table assignments via email, but in the chaos of deadlines and last-minute preparations, Sarah had only glanced at the number, Table 7. Walking carefully in her borrowed heels, Sarah navigated through the sea of round tables, each one surrounded by executives and senior staff members she recognized from the company newsletter but had never actually spoken to. Her simple black dress felt suddenly inadequate compared to the designer gowns and tailored suits around her. Table 7. Table 7, she whispered to herself, scanning the elegant gold numbers displayed on small stands at each table's center. The lighting was dim and romantic, making it challenging to read the numbers clearly. Finally, she spotted what looked like a 7 and approached the table with relief. Only 2 other people were seated there so far: a woman in an emerald green dress who looked like she belonged on a magazine cover, and a distinguished man in a navy suit with kind eyes and an easy smile. Sarah slipped into the empty chair across from them, grateful to finally sit down and catch her breath. She placed her purse on her lap and tried to look like she belonged, though her heart was still racing from the nervousness of walking through the crowd alone. The man in the navy suit was speaking quietly to the woman beside him, and Sarah couldn't help but overhear their conversation. They were discussing someone from the company, and not in particularly flattering terms. "I'm telling you, Michael, he's completely out of touch," the woman was saying, her voice carrying a note of frustration. "The new CEO thinks he can just waltz in here and change everything that's worked for decades." Sarah's ears perked up. Like everyone else at the company, she had heard plenty of gossip about the new CEO, David Chen, who had taken over just 6 months ago. The rumors painted him as an ambitious corporate climber who cared more about profits than people. The man, Michael, apparently, nodded thoughtfully. "I've heard similar things from people in different departments. Some say he's planning massive layoffs to cut costs." Sarah felt a surge of indignation on behalf of her fellow employees. As an intern, she was particularly vulnerable to any cost-cutting measures. The thought of losing her position, especially when she was still trying to prove herself, made her stomach clench with anxiety. Unable to contain herself, Sarah leaned forward slightly. "I'm sorry, I couldn't help but overhear," she began, her voice soft but determined. "I'm just an intern, so maybe I don't understand the full picture, but don't you think it's unfair to judge someone before really getting to know them?" Both the man and woman turned to look at her with surprise. Sarah felt her cheeks warm under their attention, but she pressed on. "I mean, I've never met Mr. Chen personally," she continued, "but maybe he's not as heartless as people say. Maybe he's just trying to do what he thinks is best for the company. Sometimes change is scary, but it doesn't always mean it's bad." The woman in green raised an eyebrow, a small smile playing at her lips. "That's a very generous perspective," she said. "You must be quite the optimist." Sarah shrugged, feeling suddenly self-conscious. "I just think everyone deserves a chance to show who they really are, you know. Rumors and gossip, they're not always based on truth." The man in the navy suit had been quiet during this exchange, but Sarah noticed he was watching her with what seemed like genuine interest. There was something warm and encouraging in his expression that made her feel less nervous about speaking up. "You know," he said finally, "you make an excellent point. It's refreshing to hear someone willing to give the benefit of the doubt." Before Sarah could respond, the lights dimmed slightly, and a voice over the microphone announced that dinner would be served shortly. It was then that Sarah noticed something that made her blood run cold. The table number wasn't a 7 at all. In the dim lighting, She had misread a 1 as a 7. She was sitting at table 1, the VIP table reserved for the company's highest executives and their guests. Sarah's face went pale as she realized her mistake. She was about to excuse herself and find her real table when the man in the navy suit extended his hand toward her with a warm smile. "I don't think we've been properly introduced," he said. "I'm David Chen." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. David Chen, the CEO, the man she had just been defending against his own colleagues' criticism. The man she had lectured about giving people a chance to show who they really are. Sarah stared at his outstretched hand, her mind reeling. She had been so worried about him being heartless and out of touch, but here he was, sitting calmly at what was obviously his own table, listening to criticism about himself without getting defensive or angry. I'm Sarah Martinez," she managed to say, accepting his handshake with trembling fingers. "I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. I sat at the wrong table, and then I went and defended me to my own face without knowing it was me." David finished with a gentle laugh. "Don't apologize for that, it was exactly what I needed to hear." The woman in green, who Sarah now realized must be David's wife, smiled knowingly. "David's been worrying about employee morale since he started," she explained. "He's been wondering if people see him as some kind of corporate villain." David nodded, his expression sincere. "The truth is, Sarah, I've been struggling with how to connect with employees like you. I want to make positive changes, but I'm worried about being seen as the bad guy who's disrupting everything." Sarah felt her anxiety slowly transforming into something else, understanding, perhaps, or even empathy. "You could try having more casual conversations with people," she suggested, her voice growing stronger. "Not formal meetings or presentations, just regular conversations. People want to feel like you see them as individuals, not just employees." David considered this thoughtfully. "Would you be willing to help me with that? I could use someone who understands what it's like to be new here, someone who isn't afraid to speak honestly." Sarah's eyes widened. "You want my help? If you're interested, maybe we could start with a mentorship program, pairing executives with newer employees. You could help me design something that actually works." As the evening progressed and dinner was served, Sarah found herself engaged in the most meaningful work conversation of her short career. What had started as an embarrassing mistake had become an unexpected opportunity. Later, as the event wound down, David walked Sarah to the coat check. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "Not just for defending me, but for reminding me that sometimes the best way to lead is to listen." Sarah smiled, feeling a confidence she had never experienced before. "Thank you for giving me a chance to show who I really am." Walking out into the cool evening air, Sarah realized that sometimes the wrong table can be exactly the right place to be.